And we really need to talk about Brexit. Time
Good evening, everyone, and apologies for the previous stream. YouTube did something, or my software did something, and it wouldn't allow me to enter the stream. Unfortunately, all of you were in the stream, and I had to create a new stream. So I hope you can hear me, and welcome to the stream tonight. Thank you so much to Killer and Glasgow Kiss for whipping the hamsters. Hopefully, we will be able to progress without any more problems. Apologies to everyone who was in the previous stream and had to jump ship into this one. Let me know if you can hear me fine. I hope everyone's well tonight. So let's see who's on the stream. We have Maria, welcome. Globe Twig, great to see you. Monkey, Evalumdum, I know I'm mispronouncing that, apologies. Night Raven, great to see you. Leon, welcome. Mark, great to see you. Killer, thanks for coming on the stream and sorting out these problems. Tom, great to have you. Let me see. We also have Nobby Heads, great to have you on. And Tom again. Macs are better than PCs, great to have you. John Hart, that's fantastic to see you once again. David Clay, great to have you. Shadow, great to see you. Pops. Artemis, great to see you again. Pauline, great to have you on again. Captain Lavins, fantastic name, great to see you. Great sound, great quality sound, fantastic. Hope you're well, Pete. Robot Tom, great to see you. Magister, welcome. Yes, we're up to 29. Fantastic. Thanks so much to the moderators for telling people to come over onto this stream. I hope the other one eventually closes down. I'm having some trouble trying to close the previous stream, so YouTube may eventually just let it run its course and die a humane death. Good luck, hamsters. Verti, great to see you. So I hope everyone's very well here in Italy. Just to give you an update on what's happening. Torsten, great to see you. Hit the like button. Max lost the last ones. Yes, please do hit the like button. I really don't understand what happened tonight. We've never had this problem before. So usually when the hamsters weren't pulling their weight, it would be necessary to create a new stream. But that was when I first started doing the live streams. But tonight we should be full steam ahead. So just to give you an update on what's happening here in Italy, we've opened up the regions so people are able to travel much more. I've been speaking to some Italians about their experiences, and there seems to be quite a lax approach from some sides. So from one side there's a lax approach, while on the other side there are a lot of people maintaining social distancing and wearing masks. So we're hopeful that the R number will stay down. So fingers crossed for that. Welcome, Stanley Beckett. Great to have you on. Jerry, great to see you. Now the number of new cases, I may have a look at it later. May show it to you later. But as far as I know, we're still in safe territory. My home in Ireland, they have brought forward some of the easing of the lockdown, so good news for them. But in Ireland, they had very few cases and very few deaths, so they did quite well out of their lockdown. But of course, and also in Ireland, they supported the population very well. So I think it was 350 euros per week per citizen, per work, over the age of 18. So everyone who was out of work was automatically given 350 euros per week, which was, I think, quite generous. So it helped a lot of people through the lockdown. Nicholas, great to see you. The Crazy Harry Duck, fantastic names. Great to see you on the stream tonight. Matt Greek, great to see you again. Oh, a few hamsters have too much fun with the old stream. I hope we're not going to have two streams, so I'll be in one stream with some people, and then the other one will still be running. Kenny, great to see you. So a lot of different things to talk about tonight, of course. Some of these things I attempt to prepare something for the live stream, and unfortunately a lot of some of it has to be thrown away because something more interesting comes along. So I want to talk about Donald Trump's comments, which were shocking, regarding the unemployment figures and him connecting it to the death of the man just a couple of last week or 2 weeks ago. If you'd like Max to read out a comment or answer a question, then the super chat is the most viable way. Yes, thank you very much, Glasgow Kiss, for pointing that out. So if you'd like to hit me with a super chat, that'd be fantastic. I prioritize your question. Good evening, sir. Good evening, Oliver. Great to see you. I heard the R number in the northwest and southwest England is now above 1. Yes. So I think in Manchester there is news that it has gone above 1, or it's hovering around 1, which is a problem. Of course, it has to be between 0.5 and 0.9. So we'll see if that continues. Of course, it will be necessary to lock down parts of the UK in the north and west, but it's very difficult to lock down parts of the country. If you have people moving around, you have to do a complete lockdown in order to have an effective lockdown. What's Trump said now? Fons, great to see you. Fonzarelli, perhaps. Ben S., great to see you. Trump's comments were shocking but not surprising. Yes. When I had read the comments, I first of all thought maybe he's joking, or maybe it was a joke. Maybe it was The Onion I was reading. But no. The Onion has gone out of business since Donald Trump became president. Satire is dead. Have things got much better in Italy, Max? Things have improved. A lot of restaurants and businesses have reopened, but they are implementing the social distancing. So, for example, I had to go to one of the large cities near where I live today, and I noticed in the bars and restaurants that they have reorganized the furniture. So normally they would have a lot more tables and chairs packed in together, and they have spaced them out a lot. So it's a problem, of course, for the restaurants because they can only cater to a smaller number of people. But it's, they can survive. So it's and I think it's going to be like that for the foreseeable future. Evening from County Galway. Steve Hanks, great to see you. How are things in County Galway? I don't know if you know, I was originally from County Longford, so not that far away from Galway. In Germany, if you want to drink coffee, to leave my name and contact information. I'm liking Kerr a lot every Wednesday. So there has been some criticism of Keir Starmer that he's not hitting Boris Johnson enough, but I think he's doing reasonably well. Yes, we're up to over 80 now in the stream. That's fantastic. So apologies for anyone who's just coming on the stream now. We had some problems with the other stream. So hopefully the hamsters won't cause any problems tonight. Christian, welcome. Belfast, great to see you again. I don't think I saw you on the last live stream. Lenny, great to see you once again. Ellen, great to have you on. Ellen from Dublin, very good. How are things in Dublin? I used to live in Dublin many, many years ago. When will Boris build his baby gate? Yes, well, what's happening with the bridge to Northern Ireland, between Scotland and Northern Ireland? Wee Scott's dog, great to have you on. I've got lovely relatives in Birmingham. Yes, guys, smash that like button. Thank you very much, Glasgow Kiss. Would you believe today I discovered what a Glasgow kiss is? So a Glasgow kiss is not what you'd imagine. A Glasgow kiss is a punch in the face. Or maybe it's just a punch. Maybe Glasgow kiss can correct me. Matthew, welcome from hello Max from California. Great to have you on the stream, Matthew. Hope you're well. I read that the number of new cases in California is starting to rise, so I hope you're safe. And how are things with the protests in California? Are there many protests taking place in California? The headbutt. Oh, okay, a Glasgow kiss is a headbutt. Okay, so I'm so ignorant. I thought it was a punch. It was a headbutt. So is it someone implying that Glasgow Kiss is a violent person? Hi from Wales, Kevin Jones. Great to have you on, Kevin. Brice, great to see you. The hamsters need to stay alert. Yes, Keith, that's correct. It's a headbutt. So it's not like a French kiss. No, it's slightly different from a French kiss. Simon Carr, great to have you on. How am I doing? I'm doing quite well. Great to have everyone on the stream tonight. Great to see everyone. It's a traditional Glaswegian meeting, greeting. In Glasgow, everything is like a violent person. Yes, I'm implying Scottish man will kiss you with his head. It's just a Glaswegian way of saying hello, yes. I think Bozo made Cornwall cloudy today. Hi from Yorkshire. Great to have you on, Jeremy. Hope you're well. Speaking of protests, YouTube bow arrow shooting protest first hit nutjob screams all lives matter and shoots at protesters with a bow. Fantastic. Yes, it's just a slogan to those people. It doesn't actually mean anything. And of course, the first thing you do when you shout all lives matter is to try to take one of these people's lives. So I was talking on the channel about whether I think it's a good idea to have, is it a good idea to protest during the lockdown or during this pandemic? And I am somewhat conflicted on that because I think it's very important to protest for issues that we feel that are important and deserve to be highlighted. But at the same time, I'm worried about the spread of this pandemic, this virus. And I noticed in Scotland, the First Minister has banned these types of protests. So it's understandable that politicians will say, look, we need to maintain control over this. Anyway, look the protesters up, to be honest. All Lives Matter tells you everything you need to know about a person. Yes, California protests continue, but they are very peaceful. Crowds gather in Santa Monica for the surfboard paddle out honoring George Floyd. I'm 100% against the protests in a pandemic. Mickey Tron. I understand it being against it because it increases the risk. But at the same time, if people are able to protest in the right way, if they're able to maintain social distancing, then maybe it's we have to be willing to allow these protests. But then on the other side, you can say, look, it's not possible to maintain social distancing at a protest if you have tens of thousands of people. And it doesn't make a lot of sense if the governments around the world are saying, look, people need to avoid filling up places. People need to avoid meetings of more than 6 people, for example, and then allow a protest. It undermines their rules, or it undermines the lockdown. JP Morgan, fantastic. I wonder, are you the JP Morgan? Is he still around? Financial markets surging, a lot of cash to be made if you have some spare capital. I don't have any spare capital, so I won't be able to make lots of cash. But of course, in every crisis, there is an opportunity for someone to profit from it. In some ways good, in some ways not so good. Simon says, hey Max, have you seen the American police interpretation of the protect and serve when it comes to journalists? Yeah, so a number of journalists have been shot. Many have been assaulted, and it's, you know, what has the United States what has it become that you have journalists being attacked? This is something you would expect in some backwater, in some banana republic, not in the United States. David, 25,300 subscribers, well deserved. Thank you very much. I'm very happy. The number of subscribers has increased dramatically over the last number of weeks. I'm very happy, and I'm hoping within the next number of months to get to 30,000. That'd be a fantastic goal. I'm attempting to be on the heels of Phil from A Different Bias. I'm going to catch up with him. People who can't imagine order without imposition always end up favoring power over liberty. If there wasn't this pandemic, I would be completely behind the idea of the protests. But I am worried that we're going to not just increase the number of infections, but this is going to, of course, put pressure on our healthcare systems, and then we'll have to implement more draconian measures after. So it's not a very simple black and white issue. We should protest the lack of a calendar. Sorry. Will the police officers who assaulted the Australian reporter and cameraman ever be identified? What is happening in Australia? So some of the commentators, some of you guys on the stream, I know some of you are from Australia. What has happened to Australia over the last number of years? They've become extremely right-wing. I don't know if it's the general feeling within the country or it's just the government. But the government has become extremely right-wing over the last decade. And even look at how Sky News, if you look at Sky News, I use some of the content from Sky News because I find them quite reasonable. Of course, they're not perfect, but they are quite reasonable. But Sky News in the UK, but Sky News in Australia is like Fox News in America. I don't know why there's... Are they even from the same company? Is it just the name Sky News? They don't seem to have the same CEO, I imagine, or the same board who are making the decisions on what's run and what's not run. Did you hear the American prosecutor on James O'Brien's show today? It was shocking. No, I haven't heard that. So if it's if LBC have it on the channel, on their website, then or on YouTube, I will do a response to it. Did somebody think I was Scottish? Don't say that you thought I was Scottish, because the Scots would not be very happy with that. What's the British Fox News? I don't think there is a real Fox News like on TV, but the British version of Fox News the closest would be probably the Telegraph newspaper on website, or maybe the Daily Mail. I think the Telegraph is worse than the Daily Mail, actually. But they are quite similar. So they would be the equivalent of Fox News in America, I think. Trump becomes emotionally unstable when the news cycle stops focusing on him. He is running scared. I agree. Yeah, he needs to be always in the news. The Sun, the Mirror. Sky Australia is trying to shift all to right like Fox News. 1,000 subs before the end of the quarantine. You think LBC is the British Fox News? In some ways, yes. Probably talk radio is more the British Fox News, but it's a radio station. It's not like Fox News, which is a TV channel. Talk radio is the British Fox News, yes, says Ben. Fox News. Second wave, great. Real money to be made. Buy Gilead, $4,000 a pill, and you stop coughing after 5 days. Of course, what was the drug? I can't even remember the name of it. You know, the one that Donald Trump was. Your accent is not very Galwegian. No, I'm not from Galway, Moira. Moira O'Brien, great to see you again. No, I'm originally from Longford, but I think I've lost some of that accent, or pretty much all of it. I was told I had when I was visiting family. They said you sound like a West Brit. So if any Irish people are on the stream tonight, well, Moira's on the stream, and I think there's another Irish person on the stream. Sorry, I forget the names. They know what a West Brit is. So it's someone who's Irish but pro-British. But if you know my channel, you know I'm pro-British people, not pro-British government. New name for Trump is Bunker Boy. It's like what was the radioactive man and Fallout Boy? That was from The Simpsons. So should be able to work in Bunker Boy or Bunker Man or something like that. Orange Bunker Man. There's also Eddie Mayer, yeah, and Sheila Fogarty. Put a few others that are decent. Yeah, Eddie Mayer. Sheila Fogarty, so. Well, she's not right wing, but Eddie is much better, I think. I prefer Eddie. So in order, it would be James, Eddie, Sheila. Sometimes, on the rare occasion, Majid, but Majid has gone off the deep end at the moment. Belfast as well, sorry, yes, Belfast is here as well. I was in Dublin and didn't hear this accent. But in Dublin, you have lots of different accents. You actually now have also an American style accent in Dublin. Okay, so let's get to the first video. Sheila Fogarty is nuanced, yes. Max, you're a decent man wherever you come from. Thank you very much, Andy. That's very kind of you to say. So let's have a look at this first video from Channel 4 News. So it's about Michel Barnier is saying that there's little progress being made at the moment on the Brexit talks. Of course, because once again, the Boris Johnson's government is not interested in making progress on the talks. I think they're going on into... Sorry, I'm trying to move my mouse. Okay. They're trying to definitely go in two different directions. One is to just ignore everything and crash out without a deal. Or the other is this hope that the European Union will break at the last moment and give them the deal that they want. I don't know which is worse, because first of all, to crash out without a deal is going to create as you know, serious economic harm to the UK, especially just after this pandemic. What am I even saying just after? We don't even know if the pandemic will be under control by the end of the year. There's a risk that even if the numbers of cases decline significantly, there's a risk of a second wave and perhaps even a third wave. So can you imagine in December, the UK is going through a second or third wave of coronavirus, and you also have the flu, the problem of the flu, the winter flu, filling up hospitals with the winter flu and coronavirus, maybe a lockdown being talked about, and then you want to crash out of the EU as well, like you want to leave without a trade deal or any type of a deal in place. So you'd have the borders pretty much closed. You'd have businesses going absolutely insane because they would be saying, okay, well, what do we do now? How are we supposed to import goods for our businesses? How are we supposed to export anything? I think you would have a prime minister going to Brussels to beg for help. Whether that's Boris Johnson or not, I don't know. But the alternative is to get some sort of deal like they're talking about in comparison to to Canada, getting a Canada-style deal. But of course, as I've said before, Canada is not the same as the UK. And you need I don't know how many years it took to seal the Canada deal. But the European Union, Michel Barnier has talked on numerous occasions how Canada is not the UK. You can't drive to Canada. Not yet, anyway. Maybe Boris is working on a bridge. But you cannot treat them as similar, even similar. And of course, the economy in Canada is completely different to that of the UK. So you're comparing apples and oranges. Now, the Brexiteers would say, well, it's not. We don't want the exact same as Canada. We want to cherry pick it. But then why would the European Union, who spent years dealing with Canada to get an agreeable deal, why would they give you a deal if you're always talking about, well, we're not interested? Anyway, let's hear what they have to say. If you cannot hear, or if the sound is too low, let me know in the comments. Thanks, guys.
Is running out, and so too is patience, as the European Union's chief negotiator declared that there had been no real progress in the post-Brexit trade talks with the UK before a potentially make-or-break summit later this month. Michel Barnier said the UK had shown no real desire to explore compromise and was constantly trying to backtrack on commitments which Boris Johnson made last year. The UK said today that progress was limited, but that the tone of the talks was generally quite positive, adding that things would have to accelerate and intensify if there was to be any chance of agreement. The EU quarter in Brussels has joined the long list of places competing for a post-apocalyptic movie set. The soldiers on the streets offering protection against what exactly? The mind-bending emptiness of a parliament that represents 450 million people. The invisible virus has spirited away the people, all hunkered down in their digital clouds. And that includes the EU and UK negotiators who spent the last 4 days zooming at each other about their future trade relationship.
And of course, this makes the negotiations much more difficult. I don't know, anyone on the stream, if you are working from home at the moment, and you can identify with how difficult it is, how much more difficult it is, attempting to do a normal meeting with your boss or with your colleagues via Skype or via Zoom in respect to sitting down and talking to them. It's much different. It works out much more slowly, because you have to wait for the response, and then ask another question, wait for the response, and then other people interrupt each other, and it's sometimes it can be very chaotic. And after a 1 hour meeting, many people are exhausted because you have to maintain a high level of focus. while in a normal meeting you would be much more relaxed. So, of course, these meetings are not going to work, not going to progress as most people would want. Yes, guys, we have 150 viewers, and someone said only 10 or 15 likes. No, that's not acceptable. Come on. So please do smash that like button. It gets more people on the stream. It promotes the stream. Thanks a lot if you can do that. Okay, let's move on.
Judging from Michel Barnier today, it's a case of social distance meets political chasm.
In all areas, the UK continues to backtrack on the commitments it has undertaken in the political declaration, including on fisheries, where we committed to use our best endeavours to conclude and ratify a new agreement by the 1st of July 2020. To be clear, our lack of progress in this negotiation is not due to our method, but to the substance.
So don't blame the...
Oops. So not the method. It's not that we have to actually do it online. Thank you so much, guys, for hitting that like button. So it's up to 92 likes. Fantastic. You guys rock. Showed 70 likes on my end. Is he Dutch or Belgian? He's French. As far as I know, he used to be a French finance minister, as far as I know. So it's the substance is the problem. I don't think the British team are interested in negotiating
the technology, but real disagreements on fisheries, a level playing field, and how to police the new relationship.
Something I really don't understand is why the British position is so adamant about fishing, about fisheries, considering it has such a small impact on the UK economy. It represents, I think, less than 1% of the UK of the entire UK economy is fisheries. So why are they so adamant about it? I think it's because it's more a political issue. It's something you can sell to the Brexiteers. We're British fish for British mouths. British fish for British people. We don't care. We don't want foreigners coming and taking our fish. Of course, it was the British government that signed away fishing rights in the past. And I think it's even French fishing boats were given priority to fish in British waters. So, you can't really blame the EU if your government gave away these rights in the past.
Do you believe that actually Britain doesn't care whether it gets a deal or not?
Well, that has been my conviction already since a few months, and especially when the British government said that under no circumstances they would consider an extension of the negotiating period, even after the pandemic hit. That was a clear sign to me that actually they're not interested in the deal. So
and he's right. Why would you paint yourself into a corner by saying we're not going to ask for an extension? We're going to make it illegal, which is not technically correct, for the government to ask for an extension. Why would you do that? Why would you cut off your own legs? I think they still believe that they can bend the arm of the European Union. The European Union would be willing to take the hit on a no-deal Brexit in order to maintain the European Union's integrity. I don't understand why Brexiteers don't understand this. They start talking about, well, they need us more than we need them, and we export X and they import X, but that's all a red herring, to excuse the pun, or was it no pun intended? Sorry, but it's irrelevant to what the European Union truly care about: integration. They don't want the European Union to fall apart. So if they give the UK a really good deal, then other countries will say, well, maybe it's in our benefit to leave like the UK did. They don't want that. I've talked about before is before the UK left, the European Union would be friendly, would consider the UK as a member, would treat them with respect. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you very much for that super chat. Send the hamster negotiation team. But it's now that the Brexit has come to pass, the European Union have no reason to respect the UK. They care about the UK respecting EU citizens living in the country, but that's basically it. You could even go as far as to say, I wouldn't go this far, but it could be defended as a position that the EU want to actually punish the UK in order to maintain EU integration, to make an example of the UK, so as to put fear in other countries as to avoid attempting to disintegrate the EU. Now, I don't know whether they would actually do that, but it's possible. But once again, the EU will look out for the EU. The UK will look out for the Tory donors. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with.
I think that the rationale of the British government is to lead the United Kingdom through a crash Brexit, blame it on these bloody Europeans, say this is going to be our Battle of Britain moment where we will come out stronger out of difficult times imposed on us by these bloody Europeans, and he will.
And he's right. I don't know whether he's been listening to Nigel Farage for the last 10 years, but that's exactly what they're going to do, and that's what they have been doing. Thank you very much, Shiny Darko. Thank you very much. Game over. Yes, it is game over at the moment, I think. I don't understand, once again, why the Tories or the Brexiteers don't understand that the European Union will defend the European Union, and they're willing to take a hit for it. They're willing to say, okay, we're going to lose businesses, it's going to cost us a lot of money, but we're willing to take that cost, or that hit, sorry. The Brexiteers still think that they can bend the arm of the EU some way and get a deal, or they can threaten, well, we're leaving without a deal and we're better off without a deal.
Will be able to, the Prime Minister will be able to hide the economic consequences of that beneath the blanket of the pandemic economic recession.
You would be quite happy to see Britain crash out at the end of the year without a deal on WTO terms, even though that might be really bad for business?
Well, I don't think it's going to come to that. We're moving towards the deadline of the 1st of July, which is the last date an extension could be asked for. I think once we've passed that, the EU will realise that we are leaving on the 31st of December, the transition period. We're offering them tariff and quota-free trade as we've got at the moment. But
once again, you're saying we're going to offer the European Union something, and the European Union will in return give us what we want. It doesn't work like that.
I don't think we're going to get any sense from the EU until all hope is extinguished that we're going to ask for an extension.
But since COVID, Brexit has slipped even further down the EU's list of priorities. Last month, Angela Merkel and Emmanuel Macron pushed forward with a massive stimulus package that may well pave the way for the European Commission to raise its own taxes and spend them on recovery. The place looks dead and deserted, but don't be fooled by that, because the things that are being decided in Brussels these days as a result of COVID-19 on Zoom or behind closed doors are moving the European Union one step closer to becoming a genuine fiscal union, if you like, another milestone on the road to a United States of Europe.
And I think he's correct here, is because individual countries can't survive on their own. outside the European bloc, so European countries. It's much more difficult for them going forward if they suffer economically, if they're attempting to deal with coronavirus, their economies are damaged. It makes more sense to be part of a bigger club. Now, whether people agree with that or not, but that's the reality. I don't see much how can I say support at the moment for leaving the European Union in other countries. A lot of people are angry, and you find a lot of angry people on social media. Yeah, the European Union did nothing for us during the coronavirus pandemic, and there are some legitimate criticisms of the European Union's lack of action in some areas. But as we leave the lockdown, as we start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, I think more and more people are going to realize actually it's better to be part of a strong bloc. Andrew Brigham is still confused why he has an Englishman. He as an Englishman is not automatically eligible for an Irish passport. Idiot of a man. Thank you very much for that comment, Glasgow Case. Yeah, I think I've done a video with him before. He's just wheeled out like Michael Gove in a way, in the way Michael Gove was in the past, or Ian Duncan Smith, I should say. Someone who's not in government, just wheeled out to talk crap, and of course, there's the government can deny any responsibility. So, well, this is an individual MP giving their opinion, but it is a way of the government leaking ideas, putting out feelers to see if the public are interested in this type of message. Of course, they want to revamp Brexit. Brexit was Boris Johnson's golden opportunity. It was his winning ticket. So he's trying to use this scam once again. But I don't think it's going to work once again, because there is a bigger problem in town.
Or not, one can never be sure. But whatever happens, the EU is heading one way and Britain the other. Well, joining me now from The Hague is the Dutch MEP Kati Piri, who's a member of the UK Coordination Group in the European Parliament. Thanks for coming on the programme again, Kati. You heard Michel Barnier today. How grim does the state of these talks sound to you?
Well, I think as grim as he expressed, it sounds like a total stalemate. And as we know, we are halfway through the transition period. And it's clear that even after 4 negotiation rounds, no progress has been made in these talks.
So are you now getting used to the idea, perhaps even the probability of a crash Brexit, a no-deal Brexit?
Well, I think if we want to be realistic, we have to prepare for both. The time pressure is there from the British side because they are the ones who don't want to ask for an extension, which leaves us with a very hard deadline at mid-October. And it's not sure if these talks continue the way they are now. It doesn't look like we will reach an agreement. So I think to be realistic, we have to prepare for both scenarios.
And she's right. The European Union needs to prepare for both scenarios. That some sort of disaster, but I don't think Boris Johnson is interested in preparing on his side. Shiny Darko, thank you very much for that super chat. Hey you, thank you very much. Very kind of you. I just want to welcome someone onto the stream. You can see the name here, Fantasmi in Pilola. This is Mrs. Max. She's monitoring to make sure everyone is behaving themselves tonight. So if you don't mind saying hello to Mrs. Max, she can say hello to everyone. Maybe in the future, Mrs. Max may actually come on the stream and say a few words. But tonight, no, she's just in the chat monitoring. Okay, let's hear what else they have to say about. But I think the problem here is that, and I've said this before, the European Union want to arrive at some sort of conclusion, and unfortunately, I think Boris Johnson and the Brexiteers want to go in a different direction. How it's very difficult to converge on something if the two parties are going in opposite directions. So everyone's saying hello to Mrs. Max. I found it hypocritical of Brexiteers that they were worried about the economy during COVID-19, but not for no deal. Yeah, exactly, Simon Carr. I agree 100%. It was the there was no interest in protecting the economy. It's like we need to borrow £300 billion, whatever it costs. Steve Mail, welcome, or thank you very much for that super chat. If you have a question, Steve, please put it in the comment section. I'll prioritize it. So everyone's saying hello to Mrs. Max. So thank you very much. Maybe we'll do a talk show next time with Mrs. Max. Let me see. So thank you very much for those super chats. That's fantastic tonight. So let's hear what else she has to say.
I mean, listening to you and listening to Andrew Bridgen earlier, it sounds like an old record that's being replayed over and over again. I mean, this could have been a conversation that we had literally a year ago. But I wonder if a no-deal Brexit just matters less to you in the time of COVID-19 when you've got all these other worries on your mind.
I wouldn't say so. I think just as Britain, all the countries also inside the European Union are now, of course, also under an enormous health crisis, but also an economic crisis. Let's be honest. This crisis will have to be paid for, and we will feel it also economically. So my urge would be also to the British government, yet let's use this COVID-19 pandemic as a narrative for a reason for success and not as an excuse for failure.
Right, but I mean the British government, as you said, has its own economic issues to sort out, as indeed does the rest of the European Union. I just wonder whether at the end of the day, Brexit actually matters that much to people in the European Union, given everything else that's going on.
Well, of course, it's clear that under such a pandemic and a health crisis, everyone was very busy with that. But let's not forget, we have so many businesses, we have so many citizens so dependent on a future trade deal that of course it will matter. Of course we will see the economic effect if we cannot reach a comprehensive partnership with, you know, our most close neighbor with who we have been together for so many years. So I wouldn't say this is a small item. It's at least on top of the agenda of the European Parliament.
Of course, the European Union are more focused on COVID-19 at the moment. But yeah, I think it is somewhat, Brexit is being put on the back burner. There are bigger issues to deal with. But at the end of the day, I think, you know, the European Union's focus will be on the European Union. Brexit will be an afterthought because once again, the UK is leaving. So businesses within the EU will take a hit, but I think there is preparation. For example, in the Netherlands, there is a great deal of preparation taking place to deal with a no-deal Brexit. So the EU is attempting to prepare for a no-deal Brexit, so that when it eventually arrives and the UK blame the EU, they will say, well, you know, we have prepared for it. You haven't. You have always threatened it, but you never prepared for it. And we can see this taking place in. There's very little preparation being taking place at the moment in Northern Ireland, where there's going to be a border between Northern Ireland and Great Britain. So I want to move on to just go back to the chat for a moment to read some of your comments. Coes 2.0, sorry, is Channel 4 as an authority? Come on, you're having a laugh. I never said Channel 4 is an authority. I'm just using their videos. I also use The Sun's videos. I also use The Guardian, and The Telegraph at times as well. So Breaking news, Isle of Wight Conservative MP Bob Seeley admits to attending a barbecue on the 22nd of May at a journalist's home, breaking lockdown. Then he should resign. Very simple. But he won't. Because then he will say, well, if Dominic Cummings broke the rules, why should I have to resign? And he didn't resign, so. See the appropriate name. So I'm going to change gear for a moment. Hopefully we won't have any problems. No. Ah, okay. Okay, so this is a little bit of a scandal that's taking place regarding the coronavirus. So it says here, Britain says nearly 30,000 COVID-19 tests sent to US labs came back void. So I don't remember who sent this on. No, I can check. I can thank you for it. This was sent by QA Library. Thank you very much, QA Library. I don't know if you're on the stream tonight, but if you are, thank you very much for pointing me in the direction of this. Super chat. Super chat. Sorry, I wasn't reading what you had said there. So it says here, London, nearly 30,000 COVID-19 tests which Britain sent to a US lab for processing came back void. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's spokesman said on Thursday, adding to a mounting pile of questions over the UK's testing regime. The admission comes in a week where the government has faced criticism by a statistics watchdog over incomplete test data, pressure over turnaround times for test results, and the teething issues with the new test and trace program. So it goes on to say, Johnson's spokesman said that the operational issues in our lab network meant that 67,000 tests were sent to the United States for processing. Why to the United States? Excuse me. UK scandal, you don't say. Unfortunately, these tests from the US returned a higher void rate than expected, around 29,500. So almost half of them were void. Everyone affected was offered a new test immediately, and the test and the lab in the US is not being used for further capacity. So the problem was the lab, not the actual tests. So you're not going to use this lab anymore. So why were you using a US lab? I fear, once again, this is part of the cough max. Don't worry, I'm okay, Andy. I promise. This is once again another symptom, excuse the pun, of the virus that is the selling off of the NHS. Using American companies to do the tests. Using American companies, I'm not sure if it was an American company that is dealing with this test and trace. But why are they using private companies to do a lot of this work? Because they want to trial run it for eventually selling off the NHS, because they will eventually come back and say, look, these companies succeeded where the NHS failed. Of course, they didn't try with the NHS, and of course they didn't allow the NHS to monitor the work, or to these private companies couldn't integrate with the NHS for security reasons, and vice versa. Can you apologize for saying Stephen Kinnock was a Brexit man? Come on, honestly. He is a Brexiteer. He supported Brexit. He voted for Brexit. He said it on a number of occasions. So he is a Brexiteer. Anyway, but this is an example. This will be used if this had been a success. Of course, it's been a failure, so they're not going to use it as propaganda for selling off the NHS. But if it had worked, they would have used it and said, look, private companies are doing it better than the NHS. This is another reason why we should privatize the NHS. This, of course, not today, but not tomorrow perhaps, but after this pandemic has passed. I promise you, I'm going to leave these live streams up. I'm going to leave these videos up, and I promise you, if you want to look back at the videos I've uploaded regarding selling off the NHS in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time, if they're still available, if they're still on YouTube, I will be right. And I'm not trying to be arrogant or anything, because the writing is on the wall. The Tories defund the NHS, run it into the ground. Then when the pandemic arrives, instead of funding the NHS to deal with this problem, they give the money over to private companies, hoping that they will succeed, and then they can eventually outsource more and more of the NHS to these private companies. It's not Brexit enough. There was once a soothsayer called Morgan who was inclined to tooth his organ. Future he'd foretell, but not very well. A pound Lord Sargon or Surgan. Fantastic, the Wee Scots Dog. Please check out weescotsdog.com, or is it dot? You can post it in the link in the stream, or one of the mods can do it. If you are a mod, so you should be able to do it. Please do check out a Wee Scots Dog website. It's fantastic. There are lots of fantastic poems on his website, and funny and also enlightening. So it goes on to say, we worked hard to get complete tests for the people under difficult circumstances, he told the newspaper. In many cases they worked, and we were very grateful to the team for their efforts, but in some cases it didn't, and the correct judgment was made to void the tests. On Wednesday, Johnson pledged to make the results of almost all tests for COVID-19 available within 24 hours by the end of the month, although he said there would be difficulties with postal tests. It's very good. weescotsdog.com. So I just want to show you. So let's have a look at what's happening today in Borisville. Just bear with me a moment. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the comments from Matt Hancock today regarding the current status of the lockdown and coronavirus in general. So let's skip ahead a bit. George Floyd's body tested positive for COVID-19.
Taking questions from the public and from...
Sorry, just a moment. Sir Antonius Block, is that true? After 6 months of... So I'll just read some of your comments, because I abandoned you guys for a moment, so I want to get back to your comments. Matt, I stand too close to Hancock. Are you saying that Stephen Hancock is a Brexiteer? Let me hear you repeat that. In front of your fans. This is incredible. Yes, he is a supporter of Brexit. I don't know what your definition of Brexiteer is. Maybe your definition is different to mine, but he voted in Parliament to support I'm trying to remember how there were a number of different votes, But in most cases, I think in all of the votes on Brexit, he voted with the Tories. He supported Brexit, let's say, put it that way, because some Tories voted against it, of course. Cox half hour. Don't worry, I'm not going to impose half an hour of Matt Hancock on you. But let's hear what he has to say.
From the media, and I'd like to start by sharing the latest data. If we could have the first slide, please. The first slide shows the information on infections. And the data published by the Office for National Statistics this morning shows that the number of people who had coronavirus in England fell from around 139,000 between the 3rd and 16th of May to around 53,000 between the 17th and 30th of May. And that's represented in percentage terms in this right-hand chart. And it demonstrates that the percentage of the population testing positive has been falling consistently over recent weeks.
Apologies if the sound is very low. Let me see if I can boost it a little bit. Hopefully you won't lose your ears.
I've confirmed that the R across the whole of the UK is between 0.7 and 0.9. And the Office for National Statistics survey also estimated the number of new coronavirus infections, which stands at 39,000 per week, which is equivalent to
Apologies for the sound. I've put the volume on my computer up to full, and I've put the volume on YouTube up to full. But unfortunately, if you listen very, very quietly, you may be able to hear it.
Around 5,600 per day, and this is lower than the similar estimate made last week. So these are encouraging trends about the reducing spread of coronavirus across the country. Next slide, please. This slide shows progress on testing and the number of new confirmed cases. In total, 5,200,000 tests have been carried out, including 207,231 tests yesterday. And these data on tests include both the swab tests to find out if you have coronavirus, and also the antibody tests, which stand at around just over 40,000 antibody tests a day. The antibody tests find out if you have had the virus. And if you have had the virus, then you can help make a difference, because by donating your plasma from your blood that has your antibodies in it, then you can help somebody who is currently suffering in hospital with coronavirus. I did this earlier today. I gave my antibodies, and the process is simple, it's straightforward. If you have had coronavirus, if you go to the NHS Blood and Transplant website, NHSBT, then you too can donate your antibodies and help protect.
Sorry, just reading your comments. I see here English Viking says, listening very carefully, I will play this only once. sorry, if you're familiar with LOLO, the comedy from the 1980s. Okay, apologies. Let's get back to apologies once again for the sound. I've tried to boost the sound as much as possible, but Matt Hancock isn't possible to hear any louder. YouTube is is turned up to 11, but it doesn't make any difference.
Somebody who's currently in hospital with coronavirus, and I'd encourage anybody who can do that to step forward. The chart also shows that the number of confirmed cases is 1,650 yesterday, which brings the total number of confirmed cases confirmed by positive swab tests to 283,311. Next slide, please. This slide shows the data from hospitals. there were 694 admissions, new admissions, with COVID-19 on the latest data, which has fallen over the last week. Those data include England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. They don't include Scotland. And also the bottom data, which is across the whole UK, shows the number of people in ventilator beds has fallen from 751 on the 28th of May, a week ago, down to 571. And this is down from a peak of over 3,000 on the 12th of April. Next slide, please. Slide 4 shows the regional breakdown of people in hospital, and it shows that over 7,000 people remain in hospital, 7,080 to be precise, but this is down 15% from 8,285 a week ago, and a peak of over 20,000 in April. The final slide, next slide please, shows the number of people who have sadly lost their lives. And this number stands at 40,261 on the...
So the grim number of over 40,000 at this stage.
Latest information, which is 357 higher than yesterday.
So it's 357 higher from yesterday. And you're easing the lockdown. I really don't get this. Still too high to ease the lockdown.
And these slides demonstrate that although that the past few months have been a time of sorrow for so many people, because each of these deaths is not a statistic, but the loss of a loved one for so many families. The slides also show that we have made progress in our fight against the virus, but they also show that there's so much more to do. Thank you. It shows that we must always remain vigilant, especially when it comes to protecting our NHS, which has been at the front line of the battle.
Then why are you easing the lockdown if you have to be vigilant? We have to protect the NHS, yes, but easing the lockdown when there are 357 deaths per day is reckless.
And of course, thanks to an enormous national effort, we protected the NHS and prevented it being overwhelmed, which in turn saved lives. And today I want to set out further steps that we're taking to protect the NHS, and especially around face coverings and face masks. Yesterday, the Secretary of State for Transport announced that face coverings will become mandatory on public transport from the 15th of June, with a few...
The 15th of June? 10 days from now? Why aren't you doing it now? Why aren't you implementing it from Monday even? The 15th of June, 10 days from now, over a week from now, you're going to say, okay, now it's going to be... So this is a lie when they say we're following the science. The science would have said from the beginning to wear a face mask. Maybe not even at the very beginning of this entire pandemic. I think there was mixed messages from the WHO. Sometimes they said masks would not be sufficient or were not necessary. But that advice changed. But of course now you're saying we're going to implement mask wearing, which has been the norm in most countries in Europe. Now we're going to implement mask wearing on public transportation. From the 15th of June. Why are you waiting so long? Why are you waiting until the 15th of June? Why don't you implement it from Monday, from now, from midnight tonight?
Specific exceptions, for instance, those with breathing difficulties. This doesn't mean surgical masks, which need to be kept for clinical settings, but the kind of face mask that you can easily make at home, and in fact there's a good guide on gov.uk.
Then I would understand if you said, well, everyone needs to have a ventilator mask or a mask that with a filter, then this would have to be implemented from the 15th of June. because there isn't sufficient supply. But you're saying you can make the mask yourself and you have another 10 days to do it. Why are you implementing such a decision so far in the future? I don't understand this. If masks is following the science, why are you waiting until the 15th of June to implement the science?
As more people go back to work and the passenger numbers start to increase, so face coverings on transport become more...
Okay, so if the science actually said mask wearing was ineffective, that was at the beginning. That advice changed, which it is true or an outrage. I've explained that. But are you against Matt Hancock when he says it's important to wear face masks? I was in Tesco today, only 2 out of 60 people were wearing masks. Why is it with Brexiteers, they're against the lockdown, they're against wearing masks, they're against people protesting, for example, in the United States against racism. They're against protecting people in care homes. They're against investing in PPE. Why is it always, why is there this connection with Brexit? I don't understand why the Brexiteers are in the same Venn diagram as people who are saying, well, it's a fake virus, or it's invented by Bill Gates or something like this, or if there's a vaccine coming, I'm not going to get it because they put microchips in the vaccines. The same people who say these things, if you ask them about Brexit, they'll be like, yes, we need to leave the European Union, we need to spend more money on the NHS, we need to get our laws back, we need to send Johnny Foreigner packing.
More important. Likewise, as the NHS reopens right across the country, it's critically important to stop the spread amongst staff, patients and visitors too. So today we're setting out that all hospital visitors and outpatients will need to wear face coverings.
And Matt, please, why wasn't this implemented before? Did the scientists forget about it? Did it slip their mind to give you this advice? When they were bringing up the issue of masks, did they only bring up the issue of masks today or yesterday? What sort of scientists do you have if they are only talking about face masks this week? Because I'm sure that the scientists who are advising the government brought up face masks a long time ago, but the government decided, well, we better not implement face masks because that's going to piss off a lot of people. And if people are pissed off, they're going to be pissed off with the government, and we can't blame them for being pissed off with the government. So let's just not piss them off. Yes, but it's going to help the spread of the virus. Well, it's better people are dead than people are angry. That seems to be the government policy.
One of the things that we've learned is that those in hospital, those who are working in hospital, are more likely to catch coronavirus, whether they work in a clinical setting or not. And so to offer even greater protection, we're also providing new guidance for NHS staff in England, which will come into force again on the 15th of June. And all hospital staff will be required to wear type 1 or 2 surgical masks. And this will cover all staff working.
And why are you doing it now? You're talking about, well, the virus is under control. That means we're able to ease the lockdown. But we need to implement these changes.
In hospital, it'll apply at all times, not just when they're doing the life-saving work on the front line. It'll apply in all areas except those areas designated as COVID-secure workplaces. And of course, where the PPE guidance recommends more stringent protection, of course that remains in place.
Are there PPE at the moment? Does the NHS have access to sufficient PPE?
We're upgrading this guidance to make sure that even as the virus comes under control, and as we saw the falling incidence across the country, our hospitals are a place of care.
Flat earthers are more reasonable than Brexiteers. I can't really argue with that. I think it has a lot to do with Rupert Murdoch, owner of Fox News, and a lot of British tabloids. Yeah, this pouring poison in people's ears. And it's not just politicians who pour poison in people's ears. Also the media do it. They help each other out.
And of safety. We've also strengthened infection control in care homes, and we're working with the social care sector on how this approach can apply appropriately in social care too. It's about protecting the NHS and social care, which means protecting our colleagues who work in the NHS and in social care. And I want to say this to all my colleagues in health and social care. As we get this virus under control, it is so...
Notice he's calling them colleagues, not his staff. Although really, in reality, they are his staff. He's their boss. They're not his colleagues. So this is an attempt to flatten the hierarchy. To say, look, we're all colleagues. We're all working on this together. We're all fighting it on the front line. But in reality, they're fighting on the front line. He's sitting in a bunker, 30 miles behind the line.
So important that we stamp out new infections and outbreaks. And of course, in health and care, you do this brilliantly all the time, and coronavirus is no exception. That means that if one of your team tests positive, you have to follow the isolation advice. The natural impulse, of course, of anybody who works in care, in the NHS, is that the thing you can best do is be there to help, to be there for the patient. But of course, if you have the virus or are at risk of having the virus, the best thing that you can do for them, as well as yourself, is to isolate at home. And this means that social distancing in the workplace also must be reiterated. And it matters just as much as anywhere else. And I know that social distancing and self-isolation can cause big logistical challenges, and we'll support you in doing what is right and necessary. All of us have a role to play here. And the last thing I want to say is this, that ahead of this weekend, when I know that there are plans for further protests, I want to say something to you as Health Secretary. Like so many, I'm appalled by the death of George Floyd, and I understand why people are deeply upset. But we're still facing a health crisis, and coronavirus remains a real threat. And the reason that it's vital that people stick to the rules this weekend is to protect themselves and their family from this horrific disease. So please, for the safety of your loved ones, do not attend large gatherings, including demonstrations of more than 6 people.
I understand, and I agree, 100%. But by allowing Dominic Cummings to throw all of your messages under a bus, to render them toothless, it's a bit late asking people to follow the rules. The rules are no gatherings no more than 6 people. So why the hell did you not punish Dominic Cummings? Why the hell didn't he resign? Whether he broke the rules or not, he damaged the image of the government. And now you're asking the people, once again, please follow the rules, even though Dominic Cummings didn't follow the rules. And any other politicians. And once again, I keep getting attacked by Brexiteers and Tory supporters in the comments section. Let me say it once again, to be clear. If any member of the government or any politician or any senior member of any political party or medical officer representing a country within the UK breaks the rules or encroaches on the rules, they should resign. I don't care if it's a backbench MP. I don't care if it's the assistant to a medical officer or whatever. That person should resign, because they're undermining the government message that is constantly being put out there, that people need to respect the rules. Now, the Brexiteers and Tory supporters are constantly attacking me. What about this? What about this politician? What about the Labour Party? What about... I'm condemning all of them. If a Labour MP breaks the rules, they should resign. If they disrespect the rules and don't break them or get round the rules some way, they should still resign, because they're undermining the public interest. Now, there's a difference between a member of the government breaking the rules and a backbench MP. I still think both of them should resign, but there is a difference. The member of government represents the government. That Tory MP, the Labour MP, for example, represents his or her constituency, and that's it. So there's a huge difference. We have to remember that. But let me be very clear once again. Anyone in the public eye, anyone who has some political power, breaks the rules, they should resign. Are you saying that Kinnock and Blackford should resign? I don't know about Blackford. I haven't heard about Blackford. If he broke the rules, did he break the rules? I don't know if he broke. I know Kinnock went to a funeral. I think it was a funeral or something. I don't know about Blackford, so I can't comment on that. But I do know about Kinnock, and Kinnock, if he broke the rule, he broke the rules, as far as I know. He went to a funeral. I think it was a funeral, or it was a wedding, or something. I don't remember exactly what he went to, but he did break the rules. So I think he should resign. Now, I'm different from the Brexiteers. The Brexiteers will always say Kinnock should resign, but Matt Hancock, sorry, Matt, not Matt. Matt is okay. He hasn't broken the rules yet. Dominic Cummings should resign, but I believe Dominic Cummings should resign. You don't think he should resign. That's the difference. I'm not being a hack. I'm taking a principled position. No, he didn't. You're taking the bait. No, I'm not taking the bait. But if someone broke the rules, I believe they should resign. But as far as I know, I haven't heard about Blackford breaking the rules. I heard about the Scottish... it's okay, hang on. No, I heard about the Scottish chief medical officer who visited her second home. She resigned, and that was the right thing to do. There was some hemming and hawing about it, but at the end she resigned. She was more principled than any of the Tories. So I don't know why the Tories and their supporters are getting angry about Kinnock and not getting angry about Cummings. But because they don't care about the rules, they don't care about objectivity. They just care about scoring points, defending their team. I'm sorry, I'm not playing that game. Okay. Now, I want to show you the next topic we're going to. So we'll leave Matt Hancock for today. He has told us enough. But I'm sorry, guys, but it does piss me off that people will say, "Oh, you're not attacking your side." Like I'm not a supporter of the Labour Party. So I'm not defending the Labour Party. So people will criticize me for saying, "Oh, you're not attacking the Labour Party, so you're supporting the Labour Party, you're defending the Labour Party." No, I'm not. I've said it before. If somebody breaks the rules and they are a politician because they have a certain amount of power, they should resign or at least consider it. But every case is different. You know, if somebody broke the rules because of some particular circumstances, if they could defend their, if somebody said, "Look, I had to go to the hospital because my child was sick," but that was not the case in Dominic Cummings. or if my house was on fire, and I talked about this on one of the other streams or in one of the videos. I said, if your house was on fire, that's a legitimate reason to leave your home. If somebody has a legitimate reason to break the rules, that's okay. Dominic Cummings didn't have a legitimate reason. He traveled 260 miles, but we're not going to go over that again. Okay, so I want to... Donald Trump is a nasty piece of work, to put it kindly. So we're going to hear from Joe Biden's response. So what happened was I'm obsessed with Dominic Cummings. Sorry, guys. So Donald Trump came out today and he said that George Floyd would be... let me see if I can find the actual comment. They may actually have a link to the original one. I don't see a link to the original one. But what Donald Trump came out and said that George Floyd would be happy if he could see what Donald Trump has been doing to the economy, doing for the economy, like doing to the economy. But he would be happy if he could, Dominic Trump, he would be happy if he could see what he's looking down on us. Yeah, he's looking down on everyone, and he's happy with Donald Trump's results regarding the economy. When I first read it, I thought, okay, this is a joke. This is, The Onion. But no. Once again, The Onion has been out-onioned by Donald Trump. Let's see if I can run this video from within the browser. No, it's not playable. It's not played. Okay. So we can read the comments from Joe Biden instead. So Joe Biden says, Justin, Joe Biden on President Trump's reference to George Floyd today. George Floyd's last words, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe," have echoed all across the nation. For the president to try and put other words in the mouth of George Floyd, frankly, I think it's despicable. The presumptive Democratic nominee noted Trump made the comment on the same day as the jobs report showed black unemployment rose last month, even though overall unemployment fell. So Donald Trump came out and said, yes, the unemployment rate has declined. Yeah, so we're winning. And George Floyd would be happy with that. And then the reality, the real insult to the injury was that actually numbers of African Americans employed, the unemployment for African Americans increased, but for whites it decreased. Can it be any more insulting? Can he be any more insulting than this? This is just Donald Trump to a T. But I was hoping to find the original comment. I'm sure there must be a video of Trump saying this. It was interesting that they some people in Washington D.C. have actually posted have decided, or the mayor of Washington D.C. has decided to rename one of the streets, I think it's the 16th Street, to Black Lives Matter Plaza. So, frankly, Trump would be very happy to hear that. But I really maybe it's here actually. Sorry, let me try.
Equal justice under the law must mean that every American receives equal treatment in every encounter with law enforcement, regardless of race, color, gender, or creed. They have to receive fair treatment.
Except Donald Trump, who gets preferential treatment under the law.
From law enforcement, they have to receive it. We all saw what happened last week. We can't let that happen. Hopefully George is looking down right now and saying, there's a great thing that's happening for our country. There's a great day for him. It's a great day for everybody.
How is it a great day for him? How is it a great day for a guy who was murdered? Was it? I can't believe he really said that. It's like, this is a great day Trump after a cock. This is a great day for George Floyd. George Floyd. How can he say that? A great day for him. He's dead. He was murdered. Maybe Donald. No, I better not say. Maybe you know where I'm going. Maybe Donald Trump will have a great day sometime. I'm not advocating, of course.
This is a great day for everybody. This is a great, great day.
Did everyone get murdered? Are we actually having this live stream? Maybe I was murdered and all of you were murdered. So this actually isn't really happening. It's happening. It's a dream. No, when you're murdered, you can't dream. I don't know. What's really happening? Maybe we've all been murdered and Donald Trump is saying, look, it's actually a good day for everyone. Everyone was murdered.
In terms of equality, it's really what our Constitution requires, and it's what our country is all about.
Our country is all about murdering people on the street. Is that what it's all about? Advocated by Max. Is that what the country is all about? Murdering people? How can he not think how his words have an impact? He's so desperate to maintain support with his base, the knuckle-dragging racists who only care about guns, God, and so-called freedom. Lenahan, thank you very much for that donation. You're very kind. Thank you so much. If you have a comment, stick it in the chat. I promise to respond. But he's so desperate to maintain support from his base that he's willing to say anything at all.
I want to finish by saying, to save the economy, we passed several pieces of critical legislation totaling many trillions of dollars, meaning 3. We're set up to do more if we want. I think we should, because we are dominant. For many years, as a bystander, but somebody that loved government, somebody that loved this country, I would watch.
Has Donald Trump? He's advocating socialism, and he really, I don't understand. Fix the sound, Max. I can hear a whiny, irritating sound every once in a while. Apologies for that, Verity.
Watch and study and see, and just, when I say study.
Donald Trump is talking crap, which is most of the time, but when he's improvising with his crap, you can see in his body language, he starts waving his hands around. So when he finishes what he wanted to say, and then he has to invent something, he starts bullshitting and he starts waving his hands around. Watch when. So he has his hands on the lectern, and then he starts waving them around because he's trying to think of something to say, because he has finished the script.
Bystander, but somebody that loved government, somebody that loved this country, I would watch and study and see, and just, when I say study, naturally study by watching. But if you go back, China...
Naturally studying by watching. So this is like, Donald Trump doesn't go, did he go to university? He went to Yale, was it? No, I'm thinking of Bush. Bush went to Yale. Did Donald Trump actually go to university? Because I know he had college football, so I don't know whether he went to university. Because in the past, he wasn't all that dumb. It's something that has come with age. Can anyone see Candace Owen stab her in the back again? The Candace Owen is one of these paid trolls.
China was going to catch us in 2019. And that was like a given. You go back 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. It was always, China will catch America.
Coronas 2.0, apologize for saying Kinnock is a Brexiteer. You're giving me three pounds to say that Kinnock apologize that he's a Brexiteer. I'm sorry that you have given me money to ask me to say something, but he is a Brexiteer. I'm sorry to say it. thanks for the for the super chat. And I'm sorry that I don't want to fight with you. Okay, I want to respect you, but he supported Brexit. I can't do it now, but I promise I will write a comment to the next time I'm on one of the videos comment section. I'll write a comment about something he has voted on in Brexit. I feel bad. You're giving me money to say something, but I'm sorry. I can't say that he's not a Brexiteer.
Catch the United States, and in 20.
Okay, Steve Miles says University of Pennsylvania. So he was in Pennsylvania University. So when Donald Trump went to university, he didn't study, he just watched. He watched other people learning. So he learned by watching the people learning. Is he like, in the Matrix, where you don't actually have to learn jiu-jitsu? You just inject it into your head.
2019, and then it'll become the dominant economy. Never happened. It's not going to happen. We dominated them over the last year and a half, 2 years.
So it's all propaganda for his base. Show that he's hard. Show that he's the one who's improving the economy. Isn't it ironic that when the economy is improving, he takes responsibility for it? When the economy is crashing, it's not his fault. It's someone else's fault. When job numbers are increasing, when there's more employment, yes, it's because of Donald Trump's policies. When unemployment starts hitting, of course, in this case there was the coronavirus, but how was he dealing with the coronavirus? Then it's not his fault. So when the economy is doing well, it's because Donald Trump is fantastic. When the economy is doing crap, it's not because of it's not his fault at all. Really, you're just making it worse for yourself. Do your research. I will. I promise. I will have a look. I will find comments from Stephen Kinnock about Brexit. I think there may even be a voting record. But I know he has supported Brexit. I have heard him saying how he has supported Brexit. That wasn't he one of them who was saying that yes, we have to the population. Him and was it Lisa Nandy were in the same boat about. Well, people in our constituencies voted for Brexit, so we have to go along with that. Going along with Brexit, I'm sorry, it makes you a Brexiteer. I don't think going along with Brexit was in anyone's interest. Oh, Max, if you can get to watch these via now, this news on Facebook, they'll live fact check. It's hilarious. Okay, Max has not done his research. He has probably found it too, unlike some. He's obsessed with the word dominate. There was a podcast that leaked a call he made to the governors, and the amount of time he told them, you have to dominate these people, was worrying. Of course, it's just because his people are telling him this is how you deal with this problem. They're his advisors. You have to dominate the opposition. You have to dominate the Democrats. The Democrats are weak. You have to dominate them. Simon Carr, thank you very much for that. Trump at uni is like Homer at a nuclear plant. Actually, yeah, probably just as damaging. Don't feed the trolls, Max. I feel look, I don't want to be anyone's enemy. I think at the end of the day, we're all ordinary people. We have our biases, we have our interests, we have things that we like, things we don't like. And I don't want to fight with anyone because I'm not the type of I'm not the type of person who wants to get into a screaming match. I prefer to get into a screaming match with people who do real damage. politicians. I will apologize if he supported the EU. Will you apologize if he supported the EU? But someone can support the EU and then change. But if he continues to support the EU, if he says if he has demonstrated support for the EU, support for the EU. I'm not trying to avoid the question here, but Max is a lover, not a fighter. Let it go, yes, please. Look, I don't want you to be sending me money because, look, this is not... Is this really an important issue for you? I prefer you... Look, and I don't mean this in any bad way at all. I feel bad saying this. Please don't be sending me money. It's not necessary. We can have a talk about it. I don't want somebody sending me money asking me to say something. I believe that he's a Brexiteer. Now, I promise you what I will do is I will search for evidence to support that, and I promise you, if I find that he is not a Brexiteer and he was never a Brexiteer or he changed his position, then I promise you I'll make it clear in the live stream, or I will respond to one of your comments and say, yes, you were right. I promise you I will do that. I'm not here to push an agenda. If somebody was a Brexiteer and they changed, I'll say that. If somebody was not a Brexiteer and they became one, I will say that. Feed the hamsters, not the trolls. Yes, look, let's put a stone on that and move on. Apologies to everyone. I shouldn't get engaged like that. You can stay on the stream if you want to comment on other things, but not. This is not a video, a response video to Brexit. Okay. So I want to thank Killer, who posted this on the this link on the Discord server the other day. So I think it's interesting. So it's Ring of Fire. So Ring of Fire is a very interesting...
So we know now that the...
Whoops, sorry. Farron always has the audio high, so hopefully everyone still has their ears. So this is Ring of Fire Radio. It's a progressive channel, and they talk about progressive issues in the US. So it's a very interesting channel. I do recommend subscribing to it. So I'm subscribed. He's very good. So hopefully... oh, that's me. Can I get a $3 off a troll? Let's give for a friend. Okay, so let's hear what... Sorry, my ears are bleeding. Let me turn down the volume a little bit, because Matt Hancock speaks very quietly, but Farron speaks very loudly.
Little photo op that Donald Trump had Monday evening in front of the St. John's Episcopal Church there in D.C. was orchestrated. It was the brainchild of both Hope Hicks and Ivanka Trump. But the order to gas the protesters came directly, according to new reports, from Attorney General William Barr.
Sorry, progressive meaning left. I don't know whether you'd actually say progressive is left. Progressive would be... I would call it center-left. Progressive would be center-left, for a better description. They're not exactly left-wing, but they're more center-left on on social issues. So they may not actually be left-wing. Progressive meaning left. So yeah. Angry Farron Philip. Angry Philip Mitchell. So in the UK, if you know who Philip Mitchell is, it is left. Yeah, I would call it center left, but because they're more on social issues that they're left wing, while on economic issues, progressives are more centrist, while the left are more about we need the government to take over more things. Anyway.
Himself. Here's the backstory on that. Apparently on Sunday, Bill Barr had wanted the safe perimeter, the little safe space, we'll call it, around the White House extended by 1 city block. So on Monday, Barr goes out there to inspect the expansion of the safe space, only to find that it wasn't actually expanded. His DOJ employees did not do what Bill Barr wanted them to. So he then knew that this little photo op thing was coming up. Trump was giving his speech in the Rose Garden. So he gave the order, according to the reports, to go out there and gas the peaceful protesters in order to secure that additional 1 block that Trump and Barr himself, who accompanied Trump on this journey, needed to be able to walk over to this Episcopal church.
Which is typical fascist behavior. We ask, people are protesting, peacefully protesting. We don't want them there. So let's go and gas these people, use tear gas to remove them. Because Donald Trump wants a photo op. This is just insane. It's, we used to make fun of Muammar Gaddafi. But Trump, at least Gaddafi had, I'm making excuses for Gaddafi now. At least, thank you very much, John Hart. Max, admit Kinnock voted Brexit. Is that a request? Admit Kinnock voted Brexit. I don't know whether he voted Brexit, but I know he has defended Brexit since the referendum. So I don't know whether he himself voted for Brexit because it was a closed ballot, but I do know that he has defended Brexit on continuous occasions. Wikipedia says Kinnock opposed Brexit. Just checked. I need to do some research on Kinnock, but as from the interviews I've seen with him, he supported Brexit. He's a supporter of Brexit. But I promise I will do some further research. I will find the evidence that I was talking about, and I will respond. I will make a video about it, actually. If it's me eating humble pie, then let it be. Okay, let's get back to Max. Admit you know who shot JRU. Wasn't it by Bobby, but he was in the shower at the time? Or it was Bobby shooting him in the shower in a dream? No. Great super chat. This is fantastic. Yes, Kinnock put his vote to Brexit. Okay, we're having a discussion of whether Stephen Kinnock is a Brexiteer or voted for Brexit or supported Brexit or best comment of the night. Yes. I'm trying to convince humble pie you'll be eating, sir. Well, if I'm eating humble pie, so be it. At the end of the day, I'm willing to admit I made a mistake. Would you be willing to admit you made a mistake about Brexit? Imagine it turns out that Brexit was an absolute disaster. Would you admit, COIS 2.0, would you admit that you were wrong? If it turns out that the things I said about Brexit were false, that the UK economy will not suffer, that if it turns out that I'm completely wrong, then I'll admit it. Because you know why? Because I would like to be wrong. I would like for the British public to benefit from Brexit. I would like for Boris Johnson to get a good deal for the UK. I don't think he will, but I would actually like him to. I hope he succeeds in getting a good deal for the UK and he proves all of his critics wrong. Because why? Because it would benefit the British people. Now, but I don't think he's going to do that. That's the problem. And if I'm wrong, I'm glad I'm wrong, and I'll admit I'm wrong. Would you admit that you were wrong? If Brexit turns out to be a complete and utter disaster, will you come on my comments section and say, Max, you were right and I was wrong, and I apologize? You don't have to send me money. You can just say it. Anyway, let's get back to Farron. Max, what did you say after Michel Barnier said today that there was no progress was done? Do you think that now, until the end of the month maximum, we will see Brexit transition period be extended or not? It's really hard to say. So Phil from A Different Bias doesn't believe there'll be a transition period extension. Max, please stop talking about Kinnock. Conservator, thank you very much. I promise. You have asked, and I will deliver. No more Kinnock. Kinnock is gone. So will there be a transition period extension? So Phil from A Different Bias, I think, unless he's changed his position, as far as I know, he believes that there will not be a transition period extension. Bing Crosby's daughter. I don't know. It's really difficult to say, because if Boris Johnson is removed, it's possible that there could be an extension asked later. See, because the European Union will have said, okay, if you want an extension, you need to ask for it in June. But I think if it arrives at the last minute, the EU will say, okay, we'll give you another extension. If it's not Boris Johnson. See, Boris Johnson may not be Prime Minister by the end of the year. So if he's not Prime Minister, this sends us into a tailspin, and we don't know, it's very difficult to make predictions about Brexit. It depends on the pressure he receives within the Conservative Party. It depends on the economy. If the economy is in complete tatters, he could attempt to crash out and then blame it on COVID. But if the economy is improving, at the same time, he could say, well, we've improved enough to take on Brexit, to suffer the consequences. We just need to, muddle through. So it's difficult to make a prediction, because it's not the Conservative Party and Boris Johnson may not be on the same page when it comes to a transition period extension. I hope I answered your question, but I really didn't, and apologies for that.
Came from Bill Barr, the Attorney General of the United States himself. Which means we now have an Attorney General. Well, ever since Bill Barr got sworn in, we've had an Attorney General that doesn't care about the rule of law, but we have an Attorney General who just Monday evening literally violated the United States Constitution by
Sorry, we're going in different directions here, but I just want to comment also. EU won't give an extension anymore, says Verti. I don't know. I think it depends on who's asking, and it depends on the situation. I don't think the EU want to get embroiled in the politics that's in the UK at the moment. They said, look, the UK have decided that, so we don't want to fight over this, as long as the UK respect things like the Good Friday Agreement, as what happened with the Good Friday Agreement long term. If the English renege, will it go against the EU? Why not Ireland? I don't think Boris Johnson is going to throw the Good Friday Agreement under a bus. He has demonstrated that he is willing to throw Northern Ireland under a bus. Well, more the Unionists in Northern Ireland under a bus, because it doesn't affect him personally, or doesn't affect him politically. The DUP have no more power. He doesn't need them. The Tories don't really give a damn about Northern Ireland. They don't want Scotland to become independent because for economic and other reasons. Yeah, absolutely. If you're right, I will admit I'm wrong. So far, so good. The EU are done. They are not worth it. Okay. We can shake on that. Sorry, I shouldn't be feeding the trolls. No. what happens if we lose Northern Ireland? Josie Fox says. I think what's going to happen is so about Northern Ireland. I think what's going to happen is the Northern Ireland is going to become more aligned with the EU on rules and regulations, and eventually it will get to a stage where there will be a border poll, and because of this alignment with the Republic of Ireland, basically the EU, the people of Northern Ireland will say, well, we want to maintain this relationship. I actually don't know if it's a good idea to have a reunification of Ireland very soon. I think it would be better in maybe later on. I'm not a nationalist. Not really a nationalist. I'm not a nationalist. I believe, the people in Northern Ireland, even the Unionist community, the Protestant community in Northern Ireland, if they don't feel Irish, then their culture, their heritage should be respected. If they say, look, we don't feel Irish, okay, you can still fly your flags, you can still have your marches, you can still feel British, but we're part of something bigger now. We're part of the European Union. But I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a gradual integration of Northern Ireland, not so much into the Republic of Ireland, but into the EU. More rules, regulations, cooperation with the European Union is going to progress over the next number of years. So I don't. A sort of united Ireland will eventually come out of it, but it's not going to be like as people imagine that. One day Dublin will be the capital of Northern Ireland as well. I don't really see it going in that way. It's not like in the movies, but I could be wrong, and I have been wrong in the past. It's all nonsense talking about catastrophic lockdown. It's all nonsense during this. Any reunification has to be a referendum, both sides of the border. So yes, Andy is right. If there is a reunification, it has to be on both sides. And if it is on both sides, then the unionists don't have a hope. The Republic of Ireland, even a small majority in the Republic of Ireland would support it, I'm sure. It's more of a political union than people don't really consider the economics of it, and the economics are an issue. I'm not going to sweep them under the carpet. It would be extremely expensive for the Republic of Ireland to absorb Northern Ireland. It'd be akin to West Germany and East Germany. German unification in 1990. It'd be something similar to that. And it was extremely damaging to the West German economy. Now, I know there's some German people on the stream, so if you want to correct me, please do. I'm quite ignorant on German unification, but I have, from what I've read, it was quite expensive, and it took a while for the western part of Germany to recover. But now look at Germany. Would Ireland want the North to join? When you say Ireland, John, do you mean the Irish people, or do you mean the Irish state? Because they're two different things. You definitely grew up with a silver spoon and have no idea of Irish history. Paul Hunter. What do you mean by that? I don't understand. Are you talking to me, or are you talking about someone on the stream? I'm the liberal elite of Manchester, but it'd make them stronger, Max. Most Irish citizens want unification, but if it's for its mostly historical or poetic reasons, I think that's the case. People haven't really looked at the cost, and I'm not saying the cost is not a reason against it. There would be an economic cost, but maybe not. It would be a short-term cost, of course. Because of unions, we can't have anything nice. Yeah, you need to sort out the unionists in Scotland. When Brexit hits the skids in early 2021, I bet there'll be a referendum will be talked about. Too sweet. Even now there are two Germanys. You're right. So the reunification of Germany still hasn't fully, is not complete. Stop talking about kicking. Max and mods decide and don't respond to requests. Yes. Ireland needs to be at peace. It is at peace, but let's hope that peace is maintained. Maria says the German unification was about as expensive as the last financial crisis. And it was money well spent. The biggest problem was that the many Eastern Germans moved to West Germany immediately. Yes, you wouldn't see something like that with Northern Ireland, depending on Brexit. If Brexit is a complete and utter shambles, then there is a possibility that there would be people moving from Northern Ireland to the Republic. But I don't think it would be the case. Check out The Deserted Village on Achill Island. Look it up, read, and then talk about heritage. Okay. Apologies for my ignorance, Paul. That's told him. Well, in Germany, pay a percentage of tax even today for the reunification. I disagree, Max. German reunification was very different from any prospective Irish one. I'm thinking of not the political aspect, but more the economic aspect. But I'm digging myself into a hole here. Try to do a super chat. It blocks the words bunker boy. Irish business groups are calling for a delay to Brexit checks in the Irish Sea, saying that Johnson's late admission that he is to implement them has left them no time to prepare for a cliff edge. But the Irish business groups can't delay Brexit, calling for a delay to Brexit checks. But you can't delay Brexit checks, that's the problem. If the UK leaves without a deal, then you need to implement checks from day one. Reunification tax. For a long time, I believe in the partition of Ireland. Now I have no idea. Unionism has run its course. Now I have no idea. No, I have no idea. Unionism has run its course. Yeah, I think unionism in Northern Ireland was always about, and I think it's comparable to Brexiteering. I don't know whatever the noun is, to Brexit. It was a love for the past. It was a romantic idea. So if you look at, if you go into, and I mean no offense by this, but if you go to Belfast, if you go to Northern Ireland, you see the communities are very separate. But if you look at the unionist community, they have the British flag, they have they are so they are like England, but maybe 40 or 50 years ago. You know, this little England mentality from about 40 or 50 years ago, Brexism, and it's this love for something that they believe was in the past, and of course, the past was not as we imagined it. There were hardships, there were problems in the past. But the more they march, the more they put up the flag, the more I see it as a desperate grasp at the past, because they feel deep in their heart that they know it's going to go away, it's going to disappear. So they attempt to reinforce it more and more. But it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So their world, the unionist world, this is my own belief, okay, maybe I'm just talking absolute crap here, but I believe it's like they have their little world, and it's like Britain, it's like England, I should say, 40 or 50 years ago, and this world is getting smaller and smaller, and globalization is eating around the edges of it, and and it gets smaller and smaller, and but the more concentrated it gets, so the smaller it gets, the more concentrated it becomes. The EU is not an empire, so it's about. A friend of mine joked that, the Northern Ireland of the future will be, Ian Paisley's house. So Ian Paisley at the time was still alive, old big Ian. But that's the image he gave, and it was probably a correct image, that the true longing for the England of the past. And it's not, because if you go to England and you ask people about Orange Men, most of them don't know who Orange Men are or what they represent. In England, I'm not talking about Scotland, because Scotland is different. But if you go to England and you ask people, what do the Orange Men want? What do they represent? Why are they marching? Why are they waving these flags? Why do they have this guy on a white horse on a banner? Most English people don't understand that and don't really care about what they represent if you explain it to them. The EU was destined for empire. The EU is not an empire. Who is the emperor? What army do they have? What lands have they invaded? If you want an empire, a real empire, you could. The best example today would be the United States. They have invaded territories. They have taken away resources. So the United States, while technically it's not an empire, it would be the closest thing to an empire. If you disagree, then please give me some examples of how the European Union have invaded countries, have taken away their resources. Now, if you're going to point to individual European countries like Belgium or France or Spain or Italy in the past, but that's not the European Union. Individual countries have had empires and emperors and empresses, but the European Union doesn't have an empire. I don't know where. I know it sounds cool. Yes, let's say the European Union has an empire, or is an empire, but it's not. Good that you erased that chorus as Shoal Max. I didn't actually erase the comments, but William of Orange, yes, William of, or no, is it? I want to do the correct pronunciation. William of Orange, not William of Orange, because it's. We have some Dutch people in the chat, I think. Yes, I am sure we have someone Dutch. So, guys, we're getting close to the end of the stream tonight, so I want to ask Killer or Glasgow Kiss to post one for the road. Maybe if you can post it on the... I'd really appreciate it, because I have some problems with the links. So if you could post it in the Discord server. Let me see in the... Just let me open it. In the video and streams section on the Discord server, if you don't mind posting a link, and then I can copy it directly into the stream. So I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much. I just read, I'm Dutch. Oh, Magister, yes, apologies. So you're very well informed on William of Orange. So am I pronouncing it correctly? I refer James Scott to George Moneybutt's recent article in The Guardian about democracy in the UK. William of Sinapel. I'm part Dutch. Max, don't encourage the idiots with all the European Union being an empire. Wilhelm of Orange, then. I love the Dutch. Which part? We haven't hidden Dutch people. We have hidden Dutch people. We have a flying Dutchman. Done. Thank you very much, Killer. So let me just open the... Okay. The Durham Dash, yes. So hopefully this will work this time. We had some problems at the last stream. So we're getting towards the end. So I'm just going to read some of your comments. If you want to ask a question, or if you want to hit me with a super chat just before we go. William of Orange, but the Orange man can say arrive with French accent, as he was originally a French. It was originally a French title. There's William of Orange. Am I saying it correctly? Thanks, Max. Love it as usual. That was all about religion. It's ironic because, of course, the Pope backed William of Orange in the war against the Catholic King James. The Unionists don't talk about that. Hit the likes, folks. Yes, please do. Don't read the message, please. What message was that? House of Tideman. Okay. Did we ever hear from Farron? So let's hear a little bit more from Farron. Yes, it's just a few minutes left, and I'll just do a quick comment, quick reply, and then we'll watch the last video of the night.
Violating these individuals' right to peaceably assemble. That's what happened. The Attorney General violated the Constitution on Monday evening.
And he's right. The Attorney General violated the Constitution, violated these people's First Amendment right. Get yourself drunk and baby shower. Forget about Canuck. House of Orange is originally French. Well, isn't it good that we got rid of this this house? We guillotined maybe his ancestor. Thank you very much, Glasgow Kiss.
And of course, we now have a couple Democratic lawmakers, some liberal advocacy groups out there calling on William Barr to resign. We have seen these calls for William Barr to resign every time William Barr does something that is, pretty much illegal. And not once has Bill Barr resigned. Now, I appreciate...
Of course he's not going to resign. He doesn't give a crap. And people like William Barr only resign when they're forced out. But unfortunately, the Democrats in Congress are not interested really in removing Donald Trump from power. They're not really interested in defanging him. Because if they wanted, they wouldn't give him his budgets. Stonewall him when he wants to pass a military budget, a budget for the military, an increase in military spending or any type of spending. Stonewall him, stop him, show him to be toothless. The Republicans were doing it all the time when Obama was trying to pass any new law or trying to pass a budget. He had to compromise with the Republicans. And the Democrats don't do that. Why the hell don't they do that? They give Trump everything that he wants. I shouldn't take the bait, but I'm terrible. I'm like a fish with a little... I'm like a cat with a laser pointer. So Cummings is an advisor. The EU is deeply undemocratic. Chomsky. Oh, because so if Noam Chomsky said it, then it's true. So you're a supporter of Noam Chomsky. Okay. I assume you'll agree with that. Just because somebody says something doesn't mean it's true. If the European Union is undemocratic, then how the F did Nigel Farage become an MEP? Sorry, I shouldn't be taking the bait all the time. Once again, I'm like a cat with a laser pointer pen.
Appreciate where your heart is with these calls to resign, but please understand, Bill Barr is not going to resign. You could release a videotape of him murdering people while also, performing abortions, and Bill Barr is not going to resign. Even if every Republican in the country turned on him, Bill Barr would not resign. There's nothing you can do. Please stop with the symbolic calls for Bill Barr to resign. What needs to happen instead is that people should be calling on Democratic lawmakers to open an investigation into Bill Barr. Instead of pleading with him, how about we plead with the people who might actually do something about it? William Barr can, in fact, be impeached. And I would say violating the First Amendment rights of a group of American citizens is absolutely grounds for impeachment.
But they won't impeach him because they don't care about that. They care about defending Joe Biden's corrupt son instead.
But I guess in order to do that, you'd have to have a functioning House of Representatives, which we haven't had since April. Nancy Pelosi needs to get Congress back in session. There is no more excuse for this. This has to happen right now. Right now. And I know she had her little photo op later while she's in her office reading from her Bible. And oh, that's a cool story, right? Another epic clap back from Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi is about as useless as Donald Trump is at this point.
£2 towards the anti-cat laser pointer fund. Thank you very much. I have no idea that it would be so popular. Farage became an MEP because of the proportional representation. Mark Kate Powell. You had a more democratic system than the allegedly democratic system in the UK, the first past the post. Proportional representation is more democratic than the UK one. So, it could be argued that the EU is more democratic than the UK. I'm not making that argument, but it could be made. I know this is that blow Brexiteers' minds to hear. How could you say that the EU is more democratic than the UK? But does the EU have a king?
All they care about is trying to get these little zingers in on each other, these little clever, witty retorts. Yeah, the country's kind of dying right now, both figuratively and literally, because we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and we still have killer cops out there on the streets. So maybe Congress needs to start doing its job and start addressing the problems that it can fix, like an attorney general who openly shat on the Constitution on Monday evening.
But unfortunately, Democrats... Sorry, I added...
I'd say that's a priority.
It is a priority for the people, but it's not a priority for the Democrats. The Democrats are about taking money, about filling their pockets, about maintaining a system that maintains them. The Republicans are pretty much the same. The theater that takes place within Congress, within the Senate, is for the benefit of the public, to give the impression that they are enemies of each other, that they are fighting it out to win over the American people. But it's not. It's theater. It's just a show. And unfortunately, it's not going to change. I really admire Farron here. I agree with him on everything. But unfortunately, as I said before, it's not going to change. The US is broken. And you're seeing the results of that broken system now. You have police officers killing people and not getting punished. You have corrupt politicians throwing the public under a bus. You have the President of the United States making light of the death of a victim. He is, in a sense, making light of it because he's focused. He's saying, yeah, he'd be looking down on us, and being happy for this day. Lennon says you can leave the EU, you cannot leave the UK. Democratic. Yes, the Scots can't leave the UK at the moment. Even one of a Brexiteer, a chief Brexiteer, had said, well, if the Scots want to have a referendum to leave, then everyone should be able to vote in it. And then the response, of course, was, so then when the UK wants to leave the EU, everyone in the EU should vote as well. Would you be happy with that? The UK is totally undemocratic. It is obscene to be anyone's subject in the 21st century. For some people, they're happy. I have nothing personally against Elizabeth Windsor. She's a person. She's she's a person. She deserves the same respect as Farron does, as anyone here on this stream does, including people who disagree with me, as I do. An individual deserving of respect, the respect that every individual should receive. But that's where it should end. No one should be her subject. I think she does some good things for tourism for the UK. I think in general she's probably not a bad person. I think she's probably a decent person. She doesn't seem to have any malice in her. But it's the problem is her job. The problem is the position that she holds. It's outdated. You can't remove her. You can't, if she does a bad job, you can't change her with someone else. Are you familiar with the YouTuber by the name Sticks Hex and Hammer 666? If by any comment, by any yes, I am familiar with him. He's a right wing. As far as I know, he's a right wing commentator. He's against these protests because of rioters, but he's pro people protesting by turning up to public buildings with guns. So that's fine, but people protesting, even if they're peaceful, he's against that because he's a hack. I don't know. I haven't watched all of his videos, but from what I get from him, he's a hack. He pretends to be a libertarian. All of these libertarians I really don't understand in the US. People who say, yeah, I'm a libertarian. But then when push comes to shove, they will support Trump, who's not a libertarian, who's very much not a libertarian, who's close to being a dictator. But because I think deep inside there is no libertarian. There's Republican or Democrat or conservative or liberal. I want to know your thoughts on Bill Gates. Bill Gates is a billionaire who made lots of money from Apple, and now he has a foundation. So I think he's attempting to maintain a legacy, like some of the other billionaires I was talking about in the other stream the other day. Some billionaires want to have a legacy. So, Daspa Greg, thank you very much for that super chat. If you'd like to ask me a question before we finish, please do. You didn't write something in the super chat, but please feel free to write something now. I don't like to shoot animals, and I was so born. Can I be queen? No, you have to like to shoot animals to be queen. You have to support fox hunting, even though the majority of the people in the country don't. There is this Sargon of Akkad, a Trump fan. Yeah, Sargon is an interesting character. Bill Gates made money from Microsoft, not Apple. Did I say Apple? I'm sorry. I meant to say Microsoft. Apologies. I don't know what came out of my mouth if I said Apple. Apologies. I know Microsoft. He started Microsoft with Steve Ballmer. I think he started. They were both of it in it together, and they made lots of money. But now he runs a foundation to give something back. I think it would make more sense to lobby for tax changes for billionaires. Would be much more useful. But he does what he feels is right, and at the end of the day, people benefit from it. So I'm not complete. I prefer him to do it than not to do it, if you get my gist. Daspax Rex, what do you think of the Irish MEP Luke Ming Flanagan addressing the EU in his jokes? So I uploaded a video about him, Luke Flanagan. I think it was him. So I think he's a member of the Socialist Party or Socialist Workers' Party. Tim Apple. That was hilarious, Tim Apple. So I think I uploaded a video about him arguing with the EU, but his criticisms of the EU is quite different from Nigel Farage's criticisms. If I'm thinking of the same guy, he's like hard left, and he believes the EU should not exist because he believes it is a capitalist, liberal entity that should not exist because it oppresses the people and workers, which I disagree with. Like the Communist Party in Scotland that I think I did on a live stream some weeks ago. So there are extreme left parties who are against the European Union. Sometimes the reasons are quite similar to the Brexiteers, the right-wing Brexiteers, but sometimes they're different. It's funny when there's a crossover between the hard left and the hard right. Okay, so we're about to the end of the stream, so we're going to have one more video for the road. So let me just load it up, and if the hamsters are behaving themselves, we'll be able to see it. It would be a real pity if we don't see it. Hope we're not tempting fate here. Yes, we should be able to see it. So this is called, let me just... So the Durham Dash, a song for Dominic Cummings. So let's see this, and then we'll end the stream for tonight. Okay.
Just before the clap, at 8 last night, my eyes beheld an eerie sight. For as we were all in lock-in, little Dommy Cummings drove to Mummy and to Daddy 260 miles.
He did the dash.
He did the Durham Dash.
The Durham Dash.
Why the hell did he do that?
While Britain crashed.
He was gone in a flash.
The Durham Dash.
You should have stayed home and clapped. Never mind the virus or economy crash. We'll figure out the small stuff like jobs, lives and cash. Know what we're dying to know. Apart from all that, did you pull in for a Costa at Watford Gap?
He did the dash.
Oh, he did the Durham Dash.
The Durham Dash.
Why the hell did you do that?
While Britain crashed.
He was gone in a flash.
The Durham Dash.
You should have stayed home and clapped. Families separated over the land. I'm finding it hard to understand how whilst nurses held people's hands so they didn't die alone, you popped up the M1 to your family home. You did the Durham Dash.
The Durham Dash.
Why the hell did you do that? He was gone in a flash.
The Durham Dash.
You should have stayed home and clapped. We've all done our part by staying indoors. What were you expecting? A round of applause betwixt getting fit with Joe Wicks and baking sourdough bread? I'm thinking, gee, Dom, you're thick in the head.
He did the dash.
He did the Durham Dash.
The Durham Dash.
Why the hell did you do that?
While Britain crashed.
Well, he was gone in a flash.
The Durham Dash.
You should have stayed home and clapped.
He's
coming, he's going. We've all done our best to help out our heroes in the NHS. Don't worry, Britain, you're not alone. He put a rainbow in the window of his little Durham home. In his Durham home. Oh, welcome, Tom. I wasn't feeling very well. But my mother and my father, they're all there. And it wasn't a Costa, it was a Starbucks as well. How dare you? How dare you?
Excuse me, sir. Here's your salted caramel pumpkin spice latte.
Fantastic, fantastic. And thanks to let me see. Thanks to to Killer for that suggestion. Thank you so much for that. So thank you very much everyone for coming on the live stream tonight. It was a pleasure once again. Thank you to everyone for your comments. A special thanks to everyone for your super chats, and a very, very special thanks to everyone who was moderating tonight. It's always useful. I cannot do it without my moderators. Thank you so much. So have a great night, guys. Stay safe. Remember to stay alert, as Boris Johnson says. Wash those hands. Wear a mask when you're on public transport, as Matt Hancock has said. From the 15th, you don't have to do it until the 15th. So see all of you guys on Tuesday for the next live stream. I'll say hello. I'll say hello to Mrs. Max for all of you. Have a good night, guys. Stay safe, and I'll see you at the next live stream on Tuesday night. Take care. Good night.